See the Crossville Airport.
I'm going to make my motion first, listen to what everybody else has to say, then I'll make my comments before we vote, if that's okay with you, Mayor.
That'd be good.
I'm going to make a motion to appoint the city manager as the city designee to delegate all matters pertaining to the operation of the airport with Crossville Aero and Crossville Aero Airport Manager.
Get that, Sally?
Yeah, it's in writing, actually.
Okay. As of the way the contract is written right now, the council is all that has authority with Crossville Aero or the manager, but can designate the city manager or whoever they choose for designee. And this council, I don't think, has been doing a very good job working with Mr. Bennett, so I will second that motion to make city manager our designee. Any further questions or comments?
Okay. If they have any, I would like to read it.
I've got a question for city manager, Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Manager, in your employee agreement, when you were hired, is there any exclusions in there that excludes you from regulating, overseeing any city asset or entity?
I'm not aware of it.
I read it a couple of times and I wasn't either. So therefore, you have been acting for 2 years now as the liaison between the airport manager, FBO, and the council.
I have worked with Chris if he called me
Right.
on times I've answered his questions.
There's enough legislation out there. I don't really see that we need to legislate this. I think we have too much sometimes. So I'm not going to support this for that reason.
Any other questions or comments?
I have one.
Yes, Mr. Sisson.
I have a lot of them. Okay, I'm gonna read the contract here. It is fully acknowledged and agreed between the parties that the final decisions on all matters to the operation and management of the airport will be made by the city through the council, or specifically delegated by the council to the city manager or his designee. The operator, then it goes into other stuff. We have never, ever done that. We have never made him. It goes on to say that he is to pass information on and come to the council when we need things to decide on. Is that not right, Mr. Ridley?
That's
Or
correct.
am I wrong?
No, you read it verbatim, that's correct.
At the last work session, I asked Mr. Colbert, the attorney representing Crossville Aero, if Chris Bennett was appointed by Crossville Aero as the airport manager, or if the airport manager was a direct contract employee of the city. He said he didn't know. He had not read the contract. That's all on tape.
Now, sir, I did not say I had not read the contract.
It's on tape.
I said I did not read it for that particular issue. I'd like to stand corrected.
I don't think you did say that. I think you said you did not read the contract, but
I said I had not read the contract with that particular issue in mind. You check it out.
I will. Okay. So, that being said, that made me wonder why that it was said. Mr. Culver took a strong position that Crossville and Crossville Arrow had a binding contract to the extent that the city did not have to accept a renewal, and went on in detail to Crossville Arrow taking the necessary steps to notify the city in accordance with the contract. I'd ask myself, why was that sidestep? Why was that question sidestep? To me, I thought it was sidestep. What interest was he trying to protect from his client? That made me wonder, why did he not want to discuss it? And he says that he didn't read that part, okay? May not. Was it because he did not want the council and the public to know Crossville Arrow appointed the airport manager to see Crossville Arrow? Did he not want the public to realize the city paid $940,000 over the life of the contract for managerial fees? Or was it something to do with the concept of the contract employee relationship to the city? Mr. Ridley, is Mr. Bennett a contract employee or is he an employee?
If it's okay with council, I can stay here because I have a lot of notes that I can reference.
I don't understand what this has to do with
I've-
designating David to work for Chris.
I'm going to get to the point.
You speak up, Counselor, so the recording can pick it up, please.
Basically, Tennessee state statutes explain how you evaluate when someone's an employee versus an independent contractor. They're largely based upon the IRS's guidelines that have been set out, and they've expanded those recently to an attempt to, I don't know if it was an attempt, but in a way it made more people employees that used to be independent contractors. This is a close call. I don't have an LLM in tax law. I can't give you a definite answer, but I lean on the side that he's an independent contractor when I weigh the factors. Those factors include various things of oversight and management. Does he have employees? Are they our employees? How is he paid? Is it on a contract basis? And they go on and on. But just to give you a short answer, my opinion is that he's an independent contractor, although it is a little bit close and blurry.
Okay, thank you. The IRS does not care what the contract says. Because someone claims to be a contractor does not mean that he is one. In their words, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it is a duck. The IRS breaks it down. Do we stipulate hours? Yes. Do we provide tools? Yes. Gas, pumps, ground vehicles, tow vehicles, etc. Do we review his work? No. Do we demonstrate a difference between the duties of the contract airport manager and the last city employee airport manager? No. Do we pay a monthly fee that's structured along the lines of pay for a normal employee? Yes. So what's missing? Now we're going to establish a designee who, in essence, tell the airport manager, since the airport manager and the GFBO are one and the same, what has to be done and how. The IRS clearly states you are not an independent contractor if you perform services controlled by an employer. The city cannot tell Chris Bennett what to do. What does that mean? Once we tell Crossville Arrow what to do, he de facto becomes a city employee with all the other checklists. He then is entitled to claim withholding, vacation, medical, retirement. That's exactly what happened in Microsoft. He can get back, if he so to choose, he could seek all the back pay, and he could seek retirement after the 12-year contract, if we tell him what to do. If we appoint someone to oversee him, like Mr. Colbert suggested, which wasn't in fact a bad idea on the face of it, and Ms. Harris wanted to act as oversight, since there is no oversight, then we can get sucked into the position that he is an employee. I withdraw my motion, so we're back where we were, maybe a little bit smarter. The airport manager works for Crossville Aero, and no one oversees him because it was written in the contract that way. And the city pays a monthly fee, a yearly fee of $79,000 a year for managerial fees, and there is no oversight. I personally question the legality of that portion of the contract, but that would have to be determined by a judge. I understand that. So there is no motion on the floor at this time.
Okay. Next item on the agenda.
Hey, hang on a second, James.
Yes, sir.
Some of this, I've spoke with Chris and David about this motion I'm gonna make here. I'd like to move that this council give authority to our city manager and our city attorney to sit down with Chris Bennett and Laney Culver to clarify responsibilities of the city and the FBO officers that are in question and concerning our Crossville Airport.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question or discussion on that?
I have one legal question.
Okay.
Is that piece of legislation okay without having been announced publicly? It's in line with what we're doing here.
I think it's in line with what we're doing. It was discussed at the work session as a potential thing to do tonight. I think it's okay. It fits the standing rules. It's been properly advertised. The paper's reported on this quite a bit.
Thank you.
Any further questions, concerns, discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Susie,
Aye.
Councilmember Wyatt,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris. Pass. Councilmember Curley, Mayor Mayberry,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Aye.
Motion carries. That being passed.